I've been asked by some of you about my drawing techniques and my process and all of that stuff, and I know you get to see it on my videos, but I don't really explain it because I'm too busy talking about history and mythology. So today is my first strict drawing video. I'll make sure to try to post these every other week, so we're gonna have, staggering stuff. I hope that's okay. So for today, I'm gonna talk about my process for Mictecacihuatl, and you can visit this link here for the actual video of her mythology because she is awesome. But this is just the video, so let's talk about how I drew her, and you're gonna see something really different because I drew her 2 times. I wasn't satisfied with the first time. This is gonna be a bit of a longer video. I'm gonna shut up now. Let's draw. One of the first things that I do is I will try not to waste my time, and I will actually take photo references of myself because artists, that's the best thing you could possibly do for yourself. So I took so many references. I finally decided on this one because specifically in the composition of the description of Mictecacihuatl, she has an unhinged jaw big enough to swallow the stars. Not only that, she has a snake dress, which I did not have in my other composition. She also is somebody that is maintaining the bones, so I was trying to get every single element on the page. I also like to start traditionally, as you can see here, and then I like to transfer it over onto my iPad. I don't know, I'm probably super old school. For the most part with this particular drawing, I wanted to get those big aspects on. I was very inspired by her originally, and I got those big aspects on, and then I took notes on exactly what I was trying to go for. So my initial sketch was pretty well thought out until I decided to get into the weeds. I really wanted to emphasize the swallowing of the stars because that was one of my favorite parts of learning about Mictecacihuatl, but again, I think I got a little too focused on that portion of the composition. So by the time I started working on her body and the bones that she sat in, I suddenly got overwhelmed. Every tiny bone, every structure, and I just get a little lost in it. And then it starts getting a little frustrating, and then you start to slow your roll and the progression because it was progressing super fast, and then bones. To break up the composition a little further, I wanted to get those red amaranth plants also in there. So it wasn't just bones. And we got hints of red because I knew that it was just going to be dark colors for the most part. And the red was really going to pop against those blues, those dark browns. Now you can tell that I am obviously getting a little more frustrated with the bones. I keep darkening the shades because at first it was kind of mixed together and blending, and it was hard to kind of distinguish that that's what it was. So I kept darkening it and darkening it and darkening it. I have a habit of starting in mid-tones, and I really should start with either very light or dark tones and then kind of build my way up or down. And also, take a break. I always need to remind myself that sometimes I get a little too far into it and I start feeling a little bit of dread with certain parts of a painting, and then you just need to take a break, do something totally different. And that's kind of what the snakes were for. I always forget to kind of adjust the canvas and make sure to flip it. I've been trying to get in the habit of doing that. With this particular piece, I had to because of the muscular structure, and I think I was getting really confused at the direction of how the muscles fold on top of each other. I wanted to make sure to get that really right. And again, I started mid-tone on the snakes, and I'm going to be working it and working it and working it. And I probably should have started with something a little lighter or darker and worked my way up. I also realized that I don't want the same color snake, and that I wanted a variety of snakes, like a whole family of amazing colors, but not so much that it's like distracting. So now you can tell I take a break and I realize some of the things that I could have done, some of those techniques. So if you stop here, you can see that I decided to copy and paste the amaranth that I've already drawn. And then because they were kind of already random when I originally drew them, I decided to change the size, change the direction that they were tilted, and kind of utilize what I already had going for me. I think if I did that with the bones, it would have reduced my time substantially, and it would have enhanced the randomness without me actually having to physically draw every single bone and every single thing, but having a bit of light randomness going. And then working from there and then kind of blending it in a way that's a little more natural, also chaotic. The next aspect of this was to try to make it so that it actually looks like the sky is being inhaled into her mouth. And I had a couple people review my work, and you can see I'm using a liquefy option on Procreate. So I'm trying to make it so that it will shift into her mouth, but the tails of light that are floating around seem to be leaving trails in the opposite direction. That's because I accidentally moved the brush upwards, whereas I should have pulled it down. Not only that, but the little spirit that she's holding in her hand, someone commented that maybe that little tail wisp at the end should be slightly towards her mouth so that it looks like she's inhaling everything almost. I don't know about you, but I love little twinkly fairy light things. I thought the blue would be a great contrast with the browns and kind of like the flesh colored that I was dealing with, so that she wasn't entirely on these, just lifeless bones. She is a goddess of the underworld, after all. Now the composition for this next one was incredibly fast, as you can see. So this was the one that I finalized and decided to do my full video on, and I used a skeleton reference I found online, but I had to unhinge her jaw even further, so I had to make some, just adjustments. The hands, I just loosely drew this period of time. I've been doing a lot of hand practicing, that's all I can say. Practice, practice, practice. This one came together so fast. I stopped my previous drawing, and then I got this flare of inspiration. I was like, no, this is the composition. I don't know about any of you guys, if you've noticed, that portraits seem to be trending lately, so this was a bit more like a portrait version of this, and I had to sacrifice some of those other compositional things that I had originally intended. For instance, the snake dress. I also like really dark stuff, and the fact that I was able to really dive into doing a skull really was just exciting. I still maintain a lot of those things, which you can see here. So I still have the amaranth plant, and I had to, I'm going to pause here and also have a side-by-side. So because I have bone on the first one, she is the goddess of the undead, and composition-wise, I wanted to really emphasize that, not like her creepy version, but she is actually guarding our bones, like, you know, that's kind of her role. So I wanted to make sure those elements were still included, even though we have a close-up of her. I didn't want her to be like a creepy, evil goddess. Like, she is still, you know, magnificent, beautiful, and a guardian. Like, that's what she is. Another thing that I really liked about this one too is that we have the green leaves in contrast with the actual amaranth flower, which really brings a whole different element to this particular drawing versus the original one. The original one was a lot of blues, reds, flesh, tan colors, and the green just kind of makes a lot of things come together a little more. Another aspect of this particular drawing is that I really did things in big, huge swaths rather than focusing so much on those details. Probably the thing that was hindering me the most in this is actually erasing a lot of those lines here. I still haven't mastered Procreate or the bucket. I really need to sit down and actually learn more of the Procreate features. Again, I wanted to make sure that I got my stars being inhaled into her mouth, and I've had mixed reviews on whether or not it looks like it's actually going in versus blowing out of her mouth, but I feel like it is going in, but that's just me. I'm also the artist, so an unbiased opinion is always more valuable. I love that I had the opportunity to give the amaranth some texture. I think it really pulls things together, so we have a smooth, muscular, smooth muscle tones versus more of that poppy and textured flower look. So if you pause here, I'm adding leaves, and the reason why I'm doing this is because, I'll just slow down, is because there's this massive empty space here, and I think I was gonna have like a whole bunch of her hair just kind of flowing around, and then I realized, and again, I'm starting to wash everything out in this brown and red, like, you know, color palette, and I thought, you know, amaranth actually has, if you can see here, has quite a bit of leaves, like the majority of the plant is leaves. So I decided I'm gonna add some more leaves to this, even though it's a bit after, and it's obviously harder to add things underneath everything else in your layering. It can be a huge pain in the butt. Kind of at this point, she reminded me of the character from Full Metal Alchemist with the skull face and flowing hair, and that's fine. But then it kind of reminded me that he had those glowing eyes. So I wanted to add those later, and then I realized I really didn't need to put a whole lot of detail into her eye socket. And I did have somebody mention that, you know, oh, you know, it's not totally dark and empty in there. And I wanted it that way. I think it actually makes it a little more interesting and different. It's a little, just those small things. Yeah, so as you can tell, I totally screwed that up as far as the, you know, where like the hairline is, and that's something I still need to work on when a person is looking up and their hairline is not so close, but you're trying to get that elegant, luxurious hair. It's, you know, that's just something I like to do, is give people crazy hair, but I have to make sure to line it up so that their hairline isn't so close to their eyebrows. Surprise. So she's eating a star. Yeah, pause. She's eating a star, and I just used, originally I just had something there just so I could have it. I wanted some of that starry background so I knew what colors I was kind of dealing with, what tones I wanted to deal with, but ultimately I really wanted it to be like, she is just consuming this celestial, being. She is in charge of the, like things turning into nighttime or daytime. And like, that's super cool. So I wanted it to be very powerful. And I also wanted her to look, she's in essence kind of alive. I wanted to have her have a little twinkle in her eye, and also just a little, more stars going down her throat because there's space for it. Why not? Yay, drawing! I love drawing, and it's fun. It could be tough though, and I'm not perfect, and I hope that totally explains why. Yes, this was a very long drawing video. All the other ones, very short comparatively. Hopefully, I'm not gonna make any promises. Check out my socials for other art at Katie Draws. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the fun ones I say. Make sure to subscribe down below. For mythology though, keep following, keep watching, learn some things, and we're gonna be drawing at the same time. So we'll learn about drawing and art and all the fun stuff. So can't wait to keep going.